This is the launch video for repeater-focused courses at Anastasis Academy. In this video, I'll tell you about the different offerings that we have and how, depending upon your student profile and your requirement for the next cycle, you can go ahead and identify the ideal course for you and then go on to maximize your score in the upcoming exam for CAT 2026. Let's start. Before we get into the offerings, of course, we have to look at some of the common issues that people face, and I've tried to capture that via a few certain storylines. Let's get through that list of storylines. There are certain students who focus only on one section. QA happens to be one of the most popular sections. People waste a lot of time on QA and ignore the other two sections and then end up doing however in the section that they were focusing on, but definitely underperforming in the other two sections. Then there are those who go into the exam hall and end up getting anxiety attacks and end up getting stressed out, and then whatever effort, whatever hard work they've put in throughout the year doesn't get reflected in the eventual score that they end up getting. Then there are those who never learn the skill of identifying easy questions. They've done a lot of practice and they have focused entirely on difficult question, hard questions, forgetting to focus on easy questions, ones that give you as many marks as difficult ones, and they end up wasting a lot of time in solving irrelevant, over the top, unnecessary questions. Then you have people who did a lot of theory coverage and did wonderfully well in theory coverage. But then when it came to independent practice outside of mocks, outside of test taking, they rarely ever engaged in practice and then ended up with a less than stellar score in the final exams. And then there are those who take a few mocks and end up coming up with a strategy or a plan of action and they stick to it rigidly. So in VA RC section, I will do 3 RCs and I will do 5 VA questions, or I will do 2 RCs and 8 VA questions, or I will do all 4 RCs regardless of the difficulty level of the paper, regardless of what feedback the paper is giving me, not being fluid enough. There are those sorts of students as well. Then there are those, whenever they come across something new, they just leave it alone. No, this is not important. I'm only going to focus on CAT PYQs and I'm only going to focus on questions that I have seen have appeared in CAT. Understand? Let's say CAT 2023 paper or CAT 2024 paper, the previous two. Those questions, if you go and see them right now, they will appear familiar to you. Because in the last prep cycle, because those types of questions have come in, those questions have been included in mock tests, those questions have been included in practice sheets, they have become ubiquitous, they have become commonplace. And therefore, when you look at those questions, they will appear familiar. These are from the familiar grouping only. But when those questions had appeared in CAT 2023 or in CAT 2024, they were not familiar questions. So don't just focus on familiar patterns. Yes, familiarity is important. It is a wonderful tool when you want to identify which question to attempt and which question to leave alone. But don't waste time only on familiar questions, because very often, or in fact in CAT, you will invariably come across questions which you have not seen before. Even the type, the structure, the system that you're working with will not be familiar. And then you should have the mental acuity to jump from the question to figuring out a path to getting to the eventual solution. Then there are those who start taking mocks very late. Understand, CAT prep has 2 parts. First is theory coverage, second is practice, and that practice, the latter part of practice, is test taking. Because this exam is not only about how much you know, it is also about how you are able to maximize your score in that limited amount of time. In case you don't end up taking adequate number of mocks, your ability to perform under stress on the exam day becomes very, very likely. Becomes very likely to fail. Your ability will not be very high. And then there are those, see, there are every year prior to CAT, there are wonderful videos on YouTube that come out, one shot coverage and algebra from A to Z, arithmetic, all types of questions covered. blah and blah videos. And then there are also look at this shortcut, look at that shortcuts, 50 amazing shortcuts for QA, 30 different shortcuts for VA section, weird videos. I have always advocated against relying on such things, because if there existed a shortcut focused way to clear CAT, people would be focusing only on that. The fact that you need some degree of theoretical foundation in order to perform creditably well in the exam is absolutely non-negotiable. You need to spend a lot of time on understanding concepts, imbibing them, making them the way of thought that you have, so that even if something unfamiliar crops up, you're able to solve it. Additionally, in case you've seen CAT papers and not just listened from snake oil salesman, you'll realize shortcuts rarely ever work when it comes to clearing a management entrance exam. So, taking all these stories together, I've listed out the potential problems faced by candidates. First is, of course, ineffective question prioritization. Which question should I go after first? Which question should I leave for later? Sometimes they do it in order. Sometimes they they identify the toughest one and start wasting time there. Secondly, they lack strategic planning. What I mean by strategic planning is how should they go about doing their stuff, whether they'll be focusing entirely on theory coverage or practice or mock test taking, whether they'll be taking a lot of mocks and not doing enough analysis, which is the next point as well. As in, people are not people. You'll find thousands of Reddit comments about I took 40 mocks, I took 50 mocks, I took 60 mocks. And then the sad missing part is, where was the analysis? Where did you identify your own behavioral traits? Your knowledge base goes up via mocks marginally, but your behavior patterns that you identify for yourself, what works for you, what doesn't work for you, what are your strength areas, what are your weakness areas, those are the analysis pointers that you should be amazingly looking forward to when you're solving questions. Then there are people also who overlook specific sections. So even within QA, the silliest exam advice that you get every year, if you do arithmetic and algebra, CAT QA can be cleared. Understand how illogical and insincere that advice is, because if you're not strong enough in QA that you can cover the basics of all topics, you have certain degree of trauma and pain attached with that section. How do you expect to solve questions of all difficulty levels, the toughest to even tougher than that, in arithmetic and algebra? It is going to be impossible for you to be in a position that you can clear the section. You would be much better served if you knew basics of all the topics instead of getting into I will only do arithmetic and algebra. And at this point, I'd also like to, let's say, shine light on this idea. Never ever accept reducing the workload during your prep time. Because when it comes to selecting your B school, are you willing to accept the quality of the B school that you go to? If you're, let's say in quant, if you have to do numbers and PNC, the two most ignored topics, if you have to do numbers and modern maths entirely, but somebody comes up with the idea, no, these are not as important, there are only 2 to 3 questions. If you're willing to compromise on the coverage of a topic, are you willing to compromise on the quality of your B school? No, I will not go to MDI, I'm willing to go to a lower quality B school. Every topic that you leave out, understand you're simultaneously making a trade-off for, I will also go to a lower quality B school. 5 percentile in quant section I'm willing to give up because I don't want to do a topic. Great. You end up at 71, 72, 73, 84 percentile. That should be acceptable to you because you were willing to compromise on effort, so your outcome should also be compromised. And then there is also poor mental resilience, which is on account of 2 things. One, you've not taken enough number of mocks. Because you've not taken enough number of mocks, the variation that candidates usually face, sometimes their score is high, sometimes their score is low, that is not appropriately addressed, that is not appropriately trained for. Additionally, even during the course of the test, when you have tests of varying difficulties, some test is very hard, some test is very easy. So learning the fluidity way of selecting, as in this paper, I see the RC passages are fairly simple. So my usual practice of doing only 2 RC passages is not going to work. I should be attempting more passages. or my usual number of DILR sets out of 5 that I attempt are 2, but in this test I'm seeing that I have I have attempted 2 sets and still 20 minutes are left. Let me go ahead attempt a third, let me go ahead and attempt a fourth. Let me not get into a habit that every time I'm solving a DILR set I will take 15 to 16 minutes, because my target was to do 2 sets only. So facing different situations during the course of the exam where your attempt strategy changes, and after the attempt, whatever score you end up getting, whatever let's say comparative score you end up getting, the impact of that, both these things get trained when you take a lot of mocks. If you don't take a lot of mocks, whenever you're getting something that you were not expecting, it would end up shattering your worldview entirely. And in order to address these precise issues, see, when I say a repeater, I'm talking of somebody whose basics are somewhat clear, whose basics and knowledge about topics are somewhat clear. And for those students, I've divided into two groups, two primary groups. One group is people who are only looking for their mock test refining, as in identifying the easy question, maximizing their score within the limited amount of time, and learning how to select questions, which questions to leave alone, which questions to spend extra time on. So those skills, some people only want those skills. Some people only want, give me curated practice content, lots of practice content. I just want to practice a lot because I know the skill of identifying questions and solving them appropriately is something I'm very, very proficient at. But what I need is one place where all the practice content is available, wherein I can go through the stuff over and over and over again. So these are the two primary kinds of students. And of course, because there are two primary kinds of students, there will be a third kind who will need both. So we're trying to cater to every group of students via the subsequent course offerings that we have. The first is CAT test taking excellence course. This course, how it would go down is every Sunday, starting from 8th February, every Sunday, a mock test will be released within the course. The first mock test is already present in the course. You can go and see on the website. Now, 8th February to 14th February is the test window. You can happily attempt. Then on 14th February, Saturday, Sunday, the test gets released on Saturday, first half, early morning. Not early morning, and then first half of the day, starting at around 9 or 10 a.m. in the morning, there will be an analysis class. An analysis class in which we will be looking at what questions should have been attempted, which were the easy ones, what insights would have helped you solve questions faster, how should you have gone about selecting which passage works for you, which passage doesn't work for you. The intent behind these analysis classes is not to look at the solutions alone. Solutions are of course there. Solution is like the step 1 of 15 step journey. Solutions you'll of course get. But beyond that, how do you identify, or what exercise should you have done? What should have been the split of questions? What should have been the split of time in order to maximize your score in the different sections? So this course will have 30 full-length mocks happening throughout the year, starting on 8th February, the first mock, and then 30 full-length CAT mocks would be discussed here. There will be analysis classes every Saturday. You will also have the entire focus on question selection and smart solving. The simple solving is of course included. Simple solving is always there, but the focus is on smart solving. How do you record the data appropriately? How do you reduce your, let's say, quantum of work in order to get to the answer quicker? All of that is going to be the focus. Or let's say you can arrive at an answer only using options, or you can identify that this option is most definitely wrong. Those sorts of stuff. Then the target audience for this entire course is of course people who are looking to refine test taking strategy. We have access to an excellent, let's say, practice database, practice questions database. Everything is available to you. So you don't want help on that front. You only want help on, I want to refine how to take a test. How do I become proficient at test taking? So this course is geared only towards that. Then the next course that we have is CRAT Practice World. This has lots and lots and lots of practice questions, huge number of questions. In fact, I am fairly confident that nobody will be able to complete the entire list of questions, and everybody should not be completing the entire list of questions. What this has is such a huge, vast, drastic number of questions that in case you want to focus on VARC, it will keep you busy throughout the year. In case you want to focus on DILR, it will keep you busy throughout the year. In case you want to focus on QA, it will keep you busy throughout the year. In fact, I will just get through what all does this course have so that you get a better idea of what this really genuinely gets you to. So there are 650 RC passages. Some of them are topic based, but most of them are mixed practice. So you can do random practice 2 RCs per day or 3 RCs per day, however many you want, that is accessible to you. Then you have 1500 plus VA questions. And when I say VA questions, we have enough number of para jumbles and para summaries and odd one out and fill in the blank paragraph, the new variant in CAT that people mistakenly call para completion. Para completion is a different question variant. Then you have additional VA OMET questions, also grammar questions, also critical reasoning questions, also lots of questions. Then you have 800 DILR sets, all with video solutions. So there are 2 levels to the course, depending upon where your proficiency levels are. Level 1 or the practice course 1 is where you have CAT type sets. Some questions have 4, as in some have 4 subparts, some have 5 subparts, those sets. Then you have the second RC practice course, that is CAT plus OMET focused. So you get 400 sets in the first course, 400 sets in the second course. You have 800 DILR sets. Of course, nobody is going to complete 800 DILR sets, but in case somebody wants to know, I want to do a lot of sets, you have access to enough number of sets to keep you engaged throughout the year. And this is all outside of the tests and everything that you'll be going through. You also have access to practice questions of QA, over 6,000 QA questions. And the wonderful thing is the QA questions, the VA questions, they will most likely get as in more questions will most likely get added throughout this year. It's not like we will be stopping at the number that we currently have. It will keep on getting added throughout this year. This is the starting number that we have that you can instantly access right away when you engage with the course. Apart from this, the practice world folks will also have access to our test series, which will include 30 full-length CAT mocks. Here, a clear distinction you should understand. These mocks are new mocks and let's say ones that will not be accessible to the test-taking excellence people. Test-taking excellence people will have different mocks. These 30 mocks are different mocks. Okay. You will have 75 plus CAT sectional test, 25 per section at least. And we will try to push this number up to 90. But as of now, we have around 67, 68 sectional tests ready. So getting to 75 will not be a challenge. So that is what I'm committing. But my intent and my aspiration is to get that number up to 90. We also have 40 plus OMET mocks. OMET mocks would include NMAT, SNAP, and ZAT. And for those OMETs, we will also have 60 plus sectional test for all the sections, training your behavior for that purpose. You'll also have access to the Telegram group for doubt resolution, where we will have all the students. You can anytime post your doubt. It will get resolved in 24 hours at max. Now, combining the 2 course offerings or the 2 groupings, we get to the CAT Mastery Repeater course. This is for those people who are unsure what is the depth and let's say level of their theory understanding. So what this will give you is lots of practice material. It will also give you the recorded courses of last year. It will also give you the recorded courses of last year. Recorded classes from last year for quant, for DILR, for VARC, the notes, everything will be included. So let's get to what all is included here. Everything that was there in practice vault, it's included here. Everything that was there in CAT test taking excellence, you will have weekend classes or Saturday classes for analysis of mocks, weekly analysis sessions, of course, and you will have 60 plus mocks because the first group has 30 separate mocks, the second group has 30 separate mocks, you will have 60 plus mocks. And on top of that, the CAT mastery people will also have access to last year recorded classes. All classes from last year along with the exercise sheet and the video solutions to those class exercises will be available for the CAT mastery folk. Now understand, I also wanted to give away certain advice for repeaters. Whether you join us, you don't join us, please make sure you take this advice and you understand what we are trying to get at, because Every year, people are saddened and are surprisingly surprised by the CAT paper, saying the CAT paper was weird and the CAT paper was unexpected. CAT paper is never unexpected. It is most likely the sources and the guidance that you are getting that is subpar. Why you think the CAT paper is unexpected? CAT paper is as normal as expected as it can be every year. If it was not expected, it was not in line with the skills that it requires every year, there wouldn't be smart people excelling every year in the CAT paper. There are people who are excelling in CAT. It is not down to luck. These are the people who are excelling all throughout the mock season also and are excelling in CAT also, because those are the people who have understood the gist of CAT. It has absolutely nothing to do with the CAT paper was luck based and there was some degree of uncertainty involved. Regardless, please, whenever you fail in life, first thing that you should never do is react and blame other people or blame yourself or any other factor. Simply take a pause, reflect, identify what went wrong. Is it something that you can fix? And go ahead, let's fix that. If it is something that you cannot fix, okay, then that is a constraint. Then let me work around it. Then let me find what can I do additionally in order to overcome the pain that I have right now. Never ever value in your own pain. Never ever pity yourself. Get to the action part of it. Never ever stay in let me worry, let me worry, let me worry without any end point in sight. A lot of CAT preppers end up waking in the months of August, September, October, and November, despite having decided to appear for CAT in the month of January itself. Please, you should be consistent in your preparation. Do regular testing, do lots of question solving from this moment. Somebody who is studying for 3 hours daily from now versus somebody who is studying for 10 hours per day in the last 3 months, the 3-hour person is winning, because the 3-hour person not only is doing lots of work, he's investing a lot of time. At the same time, he is giving himself time to absorb the learnings that he's getting from the questions. The 10-hour person working day and night in the month of September and October is simply going through stuff. It's as good as somebody who has read and understood the book and somebody who has simply gone through the words of a book. Going through the words of a book does not help you understand it. Understanding requires you spending time with it and taking away learnings from it. Please do not waste time in finding the ideal material or ideal set of books or ideal videos and ideal this and ideal that. Get any material, whether it is ours, anyone else's, find any material. Go through the entire material properly. Somebody who has done subpar material fully versus somebody who has wasted time in only gathering the best material, the first guy is winning, because you having 50,000 different notes and videos and concepts and questions and levels and this and that doesn't help anyone, least of all you. It only takes time away from you improving yourself, which will only come from you practicing and you working upon yourself. Of course, analyze your mocks. Hitting a certain number of mocks throughout the year is not the win. The win is even if you've taken 30 mocks. But if you've analyzed every mock appropriately, you've identified what your behavioral traits are, where do you make a mistake, where do you not make a mistake, where do you win, where do you fail. If you've identified that, then you are doing excellently well. Versus if you're only taking mocks just because I had read some topper interview had shared that you have to take at least 60 mocks in a year, so I have to hit that number of 60. That is foolish. A mock without analysis is as good as let's say the analysis part is the thermometer. The mock taking part is the thermometer. So mock taking part is the thermometer. It tells you what your temperature is. Analysis part is the medicine that fixes whatever fever you are having. If you only keep on using the thermometer, you'll keep on getting where you are, but there is absolutely no fixing of your health happening. That fixing of health will happen only with analysis. Please never, ever, ever skip an analysis, even if that delays your subsequent mock. Unless you've done the analysis of the prior mock, don't go to the next mock. And of course, please ensure that you have a supportive preparation environment. You don't end up in a system or a place where people are not as invested in your success as you are. You only end up, as in, people are waiting for your downfall. And as much as I would like to believe that this is not the case for most people, sadly, in the recent times, I've realized that is the case for a lot of people. People don't have friends, people have acquaintances that are preying on their downfall. So narrow down the people that you care for, only engage and interact with people who genuinely want the best for you, and stick to your schedule, do your work regularly. That is what leads to success. There is no secret sauce. There is no everyone, as in all those LinkedIn posts about I studied for CAT for 1 month and I studied for CAT for 2 months are simple engagement farms. People who are genuinely winning at CAT or any entrance exam for that matter are the ones that have put in a lot of effort over an extended period of time. Your CAT prep did not start when you attended the first class. Your CAT prep started in your nursery and KG. So in case from your nursery KG to right now, if you're further back than the rest of the crowd, it simply means you have to work harder. Right now, you trying to ape whatever they did. If let's say somebody has been a topper all throughout and they've been very good with logical reasoning, and that person has taken 10 marks and done no other preparation and gone and appeared for CAT and got in a good percentile, that will not work for you. Because you want good all throughout. You want good at logical reasoning. Your time was spent playing cricket. Your time was spent watching movies. That person's time was not spent watching movies when they were in class 8 or 9. They were reading books. They were enhancing their verbal ability without necessarily working on verbal ability knowingly. So for you, an identical copy of what happened for somebody else does not really work, but it will most definitely work when you put in your best effort. Now, just ensure that people that you're working with, or let's say the crowd that you hang out with, genuinely cares for your improvement, does not end up shaming you for not attending social events, does not force you to miss your study for going to some random trips. Find the group that genuinely cares for you and stick with it. That is all from my side, people. In case you have any questions at certain times during the presentation, I have put up the phone number, I've put up the email ID, I've put up the website. In case you want to contact somebody from our team to know more about the courses, you can happily do so. And that is all from my side. Hopefully I was able to tell you about the courses and also give you some guidance on what you need to do for the next cycle. That will be all. Okay, bye.